12:35, and we want to start right on time. I would like to welcome everybody to today's series of the Kunle Hassan Eye Foundation Academy. This is the third of this in the series. We're looking to have a series of 10 sessions, every first Saturday of every month. We have the honor of having Dr. Hassan, the founder of Eye Foundation Hospital Group, share some thoughts and some of his experience in setting up the Kunle Hassan, the Eye Foundation Hospital Group with all the different components of the business. We thank you for joining us once again, and I welcome everybody to the session. I will just give some background quickly for people who are joining us for the first time. The Eye Foundation Hospital Group was founded almost 30 years ago by Dr. Kunle Hassan, whom we'll be hearing from again today. And over the last 30 years, the Eye Foundation Hospital Group has been in the forefront of delivering quality and excellent eye care in Nigeria and across the region, and also playing roles in the global field of ophthalmology. And the Kunle Hassan Eye Foundation Academy, which was formerly known as Deseret Community Vision Institute, is a part of the Eye Foundation Hospital Group that oversees the training for ophthalmology residents and fellows, mid-level ophthalmic practitioners, optometrists, and a whole lot of other ophthalmic professionals, all in the view of making sure that there's a lot of skills and expertise in the delivery of eye care. So for this session, we're going to have, I will be passing the baton to Dr. Ayo Ariman, a director of the Kunle Hassan Eye Foundation Academy, and she will introduce the speaker for today. And after that, we will have an interactive question and answer session, and then we will have the closing remarks. Just for some house rules, we kindly ask that anybody joining will keep their microphones muted throughout the session so that we do not have distractions. And where possible as well, you could also turn your video off. If you have any comments or any questions, you can kindly type it into the chat box, and this will be looked at during the interactive session. So at this point, I would like to hand over to Dr. Ayo Ariman to present for the introduction of the speaker. Thank you. Dr. Ariman.
Hello. Okay, I can hear you now. Thank you very much, Yemi, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for making the time to join this lecture. I'd just like to introduce Dr. Hassan, who is the founder, Chief Medical Director of the Eye Foundation Group of Hospitals. He's an internationally recognized consultant, ophthalmic surgeon, with a wide experience and specialization in vitreoretinal, glaucoma, and clear segment cataract and oculoplastic surgery. He's been the recipient of several lifetime achievements and excellent awards, and is the first Nigerian and African that was honored by the International Council of Ophthalmology to mark the TSO Golden Apple Award, which is usually presented to leaders in international ophthalmology for demonstrated innovation or exceptional achievements in ophthalmic education. He has over 100 publications to his name, and in the field of ophthalmology, he has held the following positions. He's been the president of the African Ophthalmological Council. This was from 2008 to 2017. He's been a board member of the International Council of Ophthalmology, also from 2008 to 2016. He's been the advocacy coordinator for Africa in the International Council of Ophthalmology. He's been the president of the Ophthalmological Society of Nigeria from 2019 to 2013. And he is a council member of the International Agency for the Prevention of Blindness. He plays an active role, and did play an active role, in several corporate organizations as a corporate executive and non-executive board member. He's been a board member of the Diamond Bank PLC, which is now Access Bank, and was a board member for 10 years, from 2006 to 2016. He was also the chairman of Governance and Personnel Committee of the Diamond Bank, which is now the Access Bank PLC. Also in the Diamond Bank, now Access Bank, he was a board member of the Audit and Risk Management Committee. He's currently the chairman of Health Partners Limited, chairman of Deseret International Hospitals Limited, chairman of the Summit Healthcare Hospitals Group, and is an executive chairman of the Leon Economic Development Foundation, which is a microfinance foundation. He is currently the chairman of the board, is the chairman of the board of the BC Onabanjo University Teaching Hospital in Ogun State of Nigeria. And through the Eye Foundation Hospital Group, he has created a robust and sustainable infrastructure to drive his vision to eliminate avoidable blindness in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. This institution he founded continues to set standards for quality eye care and public-private partnership in eye care in Nigeria. Now, this is the third in the series of these lectures, the theme of which is building and maintaining a sustainable eye care institution in sub-Saharan Africa. The first lecture was using the Eye Foundation Hospital in Nigeria as a case study, and we were told that we should think big, we should never dream small, or else we will never build something big. We should be visionaries and we should be bold. The second lecture was meeting the challenges of a startup in ophthalmology practice. And I believe what we learned from this lecture can also be applied to all health facilities in general, so not just ophthalmology. And in it, we should watch our location, we should count the cost, and we should also have an exit strategy. Now, in this third lecture, which is, it has a long topic, so I don't really want to mess up the topic. It's building a crisis-resistant culture in an ophthalmic institution in a disruptive VUCA environment. And we will learn what a VUCA environment is, especially in Nigeria, which is a VUCA environment. So Dr. Hassan, we welcome you. We have itchy ears. We're looking forward to what you have to share to us today. And I just want to encourage us that what he's going to say cannot be learned in a business school. It's from experience. So thank you very much once again. Thank you, sir. Over to you now, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Harriman. And I thank everybody who's involved in putting this together, and also for our guest who's here to share experience and to see how best we can handle the prevailing situation in the world. Looking at the topic, if we look around today, there's no time in memory that has been unpredictable as this time of this pandemic. So when we measure what does VUCA really means, VUCA is an acronym for, the V stands for volatility, because the rate of change in society all over the world, in business, even in family, is alarming. U is for uncertainty, because everything is not just clear. Everything is very unpredictable. C is for complexity, because there are multiple key decisions that has to be factored into things. And because these things are changing so fast, we have the great challenge of how do we put the complex issues and things that are not that are beyond our control into perspective, such that we can still make a positive impact in whatever we're doing. The A is for ambiguity, that is lack of clarity. You can see during this pandemic, it's been a learning curve. The virus is there. We don't even know where it came from. We don't know how to approach it. There are many conspiracy theories. Then the vaccine. So the ambiguity is just a wide open book. This acronym of VUCA came into being in 1989, and it's from the American military, just at the time of the fall of the Berlin Wall and disintegration of the USSR. The American soldiers coined the word VUCA to reflect things that are going on that is beyond imagination and new call for new skills of management. So if we look around, where rapid and unpredictable changes have become the norm as it is today, we are very susceptible, not only in business, in family life, and in different parts of lives. So how do we approach this? How do we survive within this environment that is very disruptive and dangerous? So there are other things which we should look into. In the case of volatility, we should concentrate on creating a vision. That is, we must counter volatility with a vision that creates a very compelling, focused value for our people. If we say this is the vision, these are the values, despite all the changes around us, how do we handle it? We must handle that volatility with very strong vision. And in the case of uncertainty, we must face uncertainty with understanding. Understanding that we look around us, whatever field we are, we look at what our competitors are doing. We look at what are the challenges there. We look at factors that we have to put into place to make these challenges and turn into opportunity. So we have to be very alert. And when we look at the complexity of the situation, we have to meet it with very good clarity. We have to engage our team. We have to get the people to have a clear, distinct mission and also encourage them to work as a team. And collaboration is essential in order that when we collaborate in different spheres of whatever we're doing, the chances that we'll survive that wave of disruption is better than when we're on our own. And in case of ambiguity, there's no time in memory, at least in my own memory, that things have been so ambiguous. We have to face it with agility. We have to stay adaptive all the time. We have to look at what is happening. We have to look at what are the things that are very uncertain that might undermine goals and encourage people to learn new skills. I mean, look at the transition in telecommunication. It was the time of one time it's telex, it moved to fax, it moved from fax, it moves to email. Now we have WhatsApp, we have all sort of Facebook. Some people are losing their job. The changes are so fast that if we don't learn new skill, if we don't stimulate strong debate within our organization at any level, and if we don't embrace creativity, we will soon be out of job, or we lose focus on what to do. So these are very important things to look at. How can we survive? How can we live in a VUCA world? I would like to put our own perspective for you to understand. Our foundation group started in 1993. Before then, there's been a lot of movements to create this institution. We can say we really hit the ground in 1993. And just 3 months before, just as we opened the institution, recruitment of staff, everything in place, there was the Babangida and Ali must go crisis. It was so tough at that time that we don't even know what's going to happen, whether there's going to be a coup, whether the whole country was in a mess. And I remember that time, the first thing I did was to send my family back to UK. And I was the last person to leave the country to Ghana through the aviation minister was my friend. I left the last Ghana flight from Nigeria to Accra and from Accra to London. We just started a business, put all things in place, a lot of investments, and then come that disruption. How do we do it? I have to keep the staff going, I have to keep the current expenditure, have to do things. And here's a new thing that we have put all our life savings and investment into and cannot operate, cannot yield money. You have to maintain security, all this cover. How do I do it? In a normal business plan, you are supposed to put about 6 months of your running cost in an account so that when this sort of change do occur, you'll be able to meet it. But in my own case, where do I get 6 months running cost? So the only opening to me was to get out of the country. I went to UK. I started with a retinal surgeon, locums, and it was good. I was able to make some money at that time, about £3,000 a month. And this money I was able to send back to Nigeria to buffer this period and be able to at least maintain that institution going, paying the staff, running costs, and be able to get back to normal until when the solution was resolved. And then an Australian became the head of state. So you can see that from the beginning, we have the traumatic shakeup, a trauma to a line of thinking on all our business plans. Okay, things were okay, we managed, we started crawling, and business are coming. Then suddenly, it was the time of retainership. All the healthcare industry were surviving on retainership, big money from the companies. SAP came in, exchange rates skyrocketed from $1.15 naira to $1 to 45, and things were just like that. The companies still have to readjust. Retainership started falling. The free money was no more there. And what do we learn? Within 3 months of our opening, 90% of sales at that time was from the retainership. So what was our response? We cannot survive with 10% retails and 90% retailership, whereby we are not paid sometimes on the 30 to 60 or 90 days. So we can survive. So what was our response to that crisis? We stopped retainership. We made up our mind that we're not going to do retainership. And people think we're stupid because that's where the money is saved. We said, no, we're going to concentrate on retail sales because that will enhance our cash flow and we'll be able to meet our financial requirement. We did that and we took a stand because we're sure of our skill, we're offering something special, people paid. Even some of the companies, their staff will pay and they go and collect it. So in that way, we build a structure whereby we know that within a system, 90% at least of our earnings must come from retailers. And we only give retainership to institutions that we know the MDs and get our money straight within 2 weeks or within a month. It was a tough time, but we waved through because we are focused on what we want to do and what to achieve. And when people, because also we have the skill to offer, people have to fall in line. And that's how we're able to handle that crisis, financial crisis of retainership. Then, with increase in foreign exchange, naira devaluation, SAP and all these things, the consumables and the drugs became very expensive. Most of these drugs were imported. How do we, just few months old, without doing retainership, without overdraft from banks and all these to support us? We look inwards. We reacted by forming companies, subsidiary companies, that will be distributors for ophthalmic pharmaceuticals, equipment. So negotiated with Alcon, negotiated with Zeiss, negotiated with all the companies because of my international exposure and relationship. And from that, at least we were able to organize what they called a sort of custom pack finance of equipment. We were able to get laser, we were able to get equipment, all this spread on the custom pack we use for cataract surgeries and co. So over a period of time, that reduces our cost of operation. And that creates a good profit margin whereby we were able to pay. And the fact that we have branded ophthalmic drugs, quality equipment to do surgeries, skill we're able to transfer, and we're able to at least consolidate our position as a leader in the industry and able to generate funds so that down the chain value of ophthalmic surgery, practice, drugs, those within the chain value we're able to put in together and we're able to start a robust practice. And that enables us to think ahead in terms of maintenance, manpower, and skill transfer. It became obvious that we can easily go into crisis if we have increase in volume of patients, and I'm the only one who can cope with this. And down the line, how do we plan to expand the program? That's what came into why we decided to have a training institution, to have residency program, creating international faculty, and gradually plan succession and build the future. So this sort of response help us to be able to take bold step into the future. If we are looking at just the revenue and thinking of the profit and dividends and not putting it back into the organization and also investing in people at that level, we will soon go into manpower and skills crisis. So that helped us a lot. And we were able to start residency training in 1997, and we were able to create international faculty, we were able to transfer skill, and we were able to transfer knowledge, and able to expose the young ones to high-level international ophthalmic practice, but with a cost. And that cost is the fact that we're running parallel for years without paying dividend. Whatever profit we had, we are planning into the system in order to prepare us for situation whereby if anything happens to me or to key drivers in the organization, the company can go on. And also it helps us to put in place the need to manage our resources and to lock in all those who were being trained and with the skill into the system. However, we keep going, and then as soon as we are expanding, we discover that it's not everybody. The crisis in Nigeria, the financial situation, disposable incomes among the people who are very low, we only see the top of the class. And that helps us to create, the social enterprise system, caring for the rich, the middle, and the poor at the bottom of the pyramid. And we need that bottom of the pyramid for training. So that led to, and we have doctors, the doctors are not able to do all the jobs, these various jobs. So we learn from the Arabian model by creating a middle-level manpower, ophthalmic technicians, ophthalmic practitioners, trained specifically for different level of practice. Therefore, freeing the doctors to concentrate on the real skill that require their expertise. And that's what led to the formation of District Community Vision Institute. And things became stable, and we're able to feel more comfortable. We are able to have the culture within the system that what is important is change. And for us to react to change, we must constantly review our position and constantly review our strategic plan and make sure that we're on the right track. That was good. As stability sets in, all the succession plans were there, all the different cadre were there. The human resources became our strength so that we can clone our institution, we can start a new hospital as new consultants are graduated, and we felt very good. But not for long, because no sooner that this stability came in, then we started having other problem. Such problem, some are internal. Some of our trade OPs became, public knowledge, and our competitors start poaching them. They start poaching them, offering a little higher and all these things, and that's what you expect. So what's our response to that? We look at servicing contract. We look at bonding people for a while. But in Nigeria, it doesn't really work because there's so many factors. You can bond them and they disappear. And some can even undermine you. And when you also look at trained residents, suddenly because you're training with international standard, some of your residents will start to migrate. You can't stop that. So you start seeing a lot of, despite your investment in human resources in order to stabilize your business, you start seeing migration. You start seeing the rate of attrition getting higher. And as a result of that, we have to look at a policy. That's what can we do? And the best way we can do is to look at things and see our training as scattered in such a way that at least you can get certain number of years from each cadre of the training, from the residency. A resident is not useful to you for the first 1 year to 18 months in terms of able to take decisions, but at least you can utilize them at the bottom of the pyramid as part of their training skill. But where you make the money for in the private subsector, they're not very useful, at least for the first 18 months. So we have to balance it and look at the number that you need in order to keep this going and the time you need to transfer skill to them. And the Nigerian training program also constitutes part of the volatility and uncertainty in the environment. Each of the college do not have a uniform program, so they have different trainings. The institutions have to make money by creating trainings and all this. So there are multiple trainings. So even within a residency program, about almost a year to 18 months, those residents are outside your system. And when they're outside your system, you are paying their salary, you're putting them in the right perspective, but you're not gaining much from it. But these are the things you have to think in terms of human resources training. And I think the Nigerian West African College should look into harmonizing their curriculum, looking at things. And one thing I've been suggesting is that they should rotate their residents. Look at the strength of each of the training institutions. One is good in neurosurgery, one is good in retina, one is good in other. We don't have the resources to say that an institution will develop all the specialties, but you can rotate your residents through those specialties. If you do that, it helps to reduce that gap and that financial loss in terms of some of the residents leaving the system for a long time coming back. It also fosters interrelationship between those who are training, because they pass through other institutions, they know what is there, and it helps them in terms of aspiration for the future in order to keep them in the profession. I hope they will look at this. So these trainings also constitute a lot of volatility, a lot of uncertainty and ambiguity within the system that should gradually be realigned. Right. We move on. The institution is growing. We have new consultants, new subspecialties, and everything is doing well. Then, suddenly, we realize that all these things we cannot manage. And we realize the sentiments of owner managers, whereby owner managers keep putting their money, all the resources back into the system in order to sustain it. Therefore, you're not running it as a business. You're not really testing it against the parameters of a good business with a good checklist. We're not paying dividends. Investors are not getting return on their money, and we are running the system. So we got to shift a little bit. And what we did is, okay, we call in the PwC to come and look at a business and draw a growth map for us, a business, 5-year business plan, which they did. It cost money, but at least able to put us on the right track. And that led to us forming a management company. So taking the management directly from the doctors in different of our location, Abuja, Lagos, Ijebu, taking it out of the business and let our people who will manage the organization the way she is. And that led to having a chief operating officer, a chief finance officer, a chief business development officer, and also chief information technology. Bringing technology into the system helps to streamline things, reduce uncertainty about a lot of factors, help us to be able to get data, help us to look at what is going on in all the branches so that we can maintain a culture that is standard. That culture and the bringing of the management to create good management training help us to keep an eye on the bottom line. Keeping an eye on the bottom line help us to have a culture whereby people know that you must do things because it's necessary. You must save resources without compromising things. And that led to our core value, which embraces making sure that we put all things into perspective before taking a decision. We have to pay a premium for that, because to get people under this condition of volatility, people who are seasoned, we have to pay a premium in terms of the quality of the people we employ, their international exposure, and their ability to deliver a vision. And we thank God when we did that, we were able to free the consultants from other things. And also the consultants have the time to be able to look at what we are doing. We have to go, we have to collaborate with international organizations to see the basic standard. If you do a cataract surgery, 80% of your patient by the WHO standard must have more than 618 vision, 618 and above vision. So we are able to introduce surgical audit. Even at the bottom of the pyramid, we are able to look at first day post-operative operation, at least 80% must have more than 618. And we discussed this in the morning, and it makes it easier for people to absorb that they have a responsibility towards their patient, and we adding value to the patient. So developing all this sort of culture created a situation whereby we were critical of our system, we pay attention to productivity, and we also pay attention to quality. And that has enhanced our business. So when there is disruption in the system, especially during this COVID time, that things should be going down considerably, which it did initially, but the business pick up because those who can afford to go overseas, those who cannot go anymore, are searching for institutions that can give better service, and that affects our retail sales. So if we not put all this into consideration from the beginning of the foundation of the institution and its growth, we will not be able to take advantage of the VUCA impact of the pandemic and make sure that our institutions stand up to be at the apex of providing the much needed service to the elite and also to the people of the country. So these are part of the culture that we put in place that put us in a position to be on the top. It's not easy to be at the top. It costs money, a lot of investment in IT, and all the thing goes into that, and also able to enable us to keep the same standard across the board in our institutions. One of the very important area that we've been relatively successful in this VUCA period over the years is finance. You cannot survive in this country without having access to funds. But the cost of access to funds is astronomical. I remember in those days when we were taking loans to buy generator and coal, you're taking loan at 30-something%, 33, 36%. That's terrible. However, how do we develop? How most of our things are foreign-based. Consumables are foreign-based. So in 1993, when we started business, the exchange rate was 15 naira to a dollar. Then with SAP, it went to 45 naira to a dollar. Around that time, we need to grow. We need capital. We need to bring in a lot of investments. But how do we do it with a 33% interest rate? So we have to go overseas to borrow. And good time, there was the iFund, and we're able to tap into iFund and took a facility for $7 million at 6%. They did their due diligence. They looked at what we're doing. They were impressed with the number. They were impressed with the culture and the responsibility, accountability of the organization that is being run like an organization. Very good audited accounts, well spread out, and they were happy to give us with another company in China, a $7 million payable over a period of 7 years, whereby we pay interest only for 7 years and pay the rest at the end of the year. However, at the end of 7 years, however, knowing a condition in Nigeria, even when things were not as bad in other parts of the world, and the foreign exchange risk enough, we insisted that we want to pay a loan after 3 years moratorium. It's as if we are looking at a crystal ball, because between that 2007 and 2016, things changed considerably in Nigeria. The exchange rate at that time, capital was 1 to 12. That is 112 naira to a dollar at the capital importation. By the time we are paying back, it went from 120 to 160 in 2013, to 197 in 2015, to 280 in 2016. And by the time we are paying the final part of it, it was 480 to a dollar. That was when Buhari just came in and the dollar was not available. You can see the disruption that this uncertainty in the financial system of the country has caused. And how do we get this money? What was our response? One, we knew that we were borrowing from overseas. Therefore, we're conscious that we must have an escrow account. We must put funds aside all the time in order to pay our debt, and which we did. But despite all this, how do we survive within that elastic band of variation in foreign exchange? We struggle even through the help of other intercompany loans and all these things to pay. But the last straw was the final money, which is $1 million. So how do we get 480 million naira to pay $1 million? How many eyes are we going to operate on? What are the facilities? and disposable income at that time was going down. Things were tight in the economy. So this sort of uncertainty can destroy all the things we worked for over almost 20 years. Because if we don't pay our loan, they take over the hospital. All of us will start working. Not even only that, I gave a personal guarantee of $500,000. The consultants, Dr. Okoke also gave about $50,000 to $100,000 guarantee. So if we fail to pay this money, not only they take the hospital from us, but we still pay those personal guarantees. And we will work for the institution until they get their money. And we're not going to get that company back. So you can see the risk as an entrepreneur, as a doctor within the system that we've taken in order to build that institution. And with just foreign exchange, volatility, and uncertainty in the system, we are ready to lose that company. However, good enough, if you are running an institution, a company, whatever it is, anything, always have an exit strategy. I always have an exit strategy that I should leave this organization. Anybody having an exit strategy must be such that you can leave that organization without having to look back to depend on it for your survival. Because the people you are going to live in that organization also have to survive. They have to do things that are expected at their level, and the resources will come from that organization. So if you are the type that looks back every time, then that organization will not survive. So I've put an exit strategy. I've asked for my insurance, at least put some property in place and say this will go. But when the time came and this volatility VUCA period came, we have to fall back on that. We have to cash in on my insurance. We have to cash in on property and sell in order to pay $1 million. The very day we got a letter from Deutsche Bank saying if we don't pay the balance of this money by so, we will ask a lawyer to contact your lawyer, and we close the deal and take over the institution. But just the difference in America and Nigeria of 6 hours, by the time I was replying the mail that by the time opening of business, your money is in your account. So when they opened, the money was in the account. And then we paid. Their lawyer had to come to us with their lawyer. When I read the terms of agreement of those volumes, which we as doctors, even some of the lawyers don't understand. When I read what I've signed, I never knew I've signed away all mine. Everything, all the rights, and the rights of all the people we've been building that institution together. So was a great lesson to us. And that is the fact that we build a crisis-resistant culture, and we give everything that institution is most important, has been able us to ride through that wave of uncertainty. And that is where we are today. So one of the lessons we should learn is that the time whereby we make plans, we make goals, we put a plan in place, we execute it, and say, yeah, this is gone. Your plan cannot sustain you. What you're planning at this moment may not be able to survive within 3 to 6 months because you're not sure what is happening. So you must build a lot of robust resistance, a lot of new ideas, collaboration, all things that will enable you to absorb the shock wave that can come along the path which you cannot control. So that is very important. And also in the financial world, one thing we learn is never to have an overdraft. Because in our first year of getting the funding and edging our money, we discovered that we had the dollar and we are getting 12%, 8% interest from First Bank, and they gave us a loan at 12%, and we are trying to edge against foreign exchange, that if we keep our foreign exchange and use the local naira, we might not be able to suffer a lot of loss. But to my surprise, it cost us 60 million naira to edge in a year. And immediately we discovered that we stopped. And we made financial decision. One, we will never have overdraft, because it will encourage you to spend the money you don't have. And you'll be paying a premium of 35 to 40% on those money. So throughout our system, we stopped overdraft, and we survive up to today without any overdraft. We learn to manage our resources. We learn to have meetings with a different level of managers and let them be conscious of cost. We cannot continuously increasing prices in a VUCA world environment, because people's disposable income is being threatened. Some people are not even having. So how do you want to increase price? So the only thing is to look within and cut expenses and be prudent and avoid waste. And you can only do that when you have data. You collect data, everybody knows what is happening, you run a transparent system, everybody knows the money you're making, everybody knows where it's going, and then you can analyze where your returns are coming from and what is necessary to sustain it and where to reduce costs. And you got to look over, have a global view of your business and decide where it's important, where it's not. You got to look at your staff. Do you need them or you don't? You got to make out that if any staff that is vital should go, you'll be able to cover those things. So succession planning is important in order to survive such a crisis, because if you don't have the people who can do the scale, then you're going to suffer. 2, training is very important during the crisis to sustain it. Technology is very important. IT will reduce your electronic medical records, your financings, your everything. IT will reduce it so that you can monitor and grab. And you got to have very good managers and very good executives who drive the business, who are constantly looking at the bottom line. Because an ideally, a doctor or medical directors and surgeons, all they want is, I want to do my surgery. I want this, I want this. But when you look at your surgeons and you say, okay, you're doing this vitrectomy, it's costing $1,000 to $2,000 in type of consumables. I say, oh, it's not possible. But you analyze it. You're paying a lot of money, like $20,000, $25,000 on contract to service those equipments. You're buying those consumables. All those things have to come together in order of costing what you're doing. So if something is costing about £15,000 in UK, and you only do it for 1.5 million naira here, which is not up to an exchange rate of almost 500, you're just doing $3,000, and you're using the same equipment and everything. The area where you try to be also self-sustainable is maintenance of equipment. But we train people to go and spend a lot of money on this. But in Nigerian culture, you train them, they all want to disappear, to go to cut corners, to go and miss out. So you got to build your business to a level that you can resist all the culture, that can resist all those variables. If your technician decides to disappear, fine. You must have put your business in such a way that you can afford to just make contract with the international companies that will come in, service your equipment, you pay the premium. And you can transfer this to your patient where possible, but at least you can make a budget. You know what? Whereas you can spend a lot of money training a technician that will jump the gun and go out and set the parallel. Or even some of them that will even steal some of the things you have and you think is there in order to be serving people outside. So Nigeria is such, apart from the volatility and all these things, also there is the moral issue in Africa, Nigeria especially, of people working and not earning an honest living. So within your system, you have to make room for that and be prepared to follow international standards of using people who can maintain your equipment when you get to that level. So all these are internal values, internal problems that can create, internal issues that can create problems apart from what is outside there that you cannot control. So in sub-Saharan Africa, our problems are multiple. Okay, in terms of volatility and liable to change rapidly and unpredictable in a way, you're also dealing with local problems. Honesty, perception. People see big things and they think, oh, you must have money. They don't even know where you are going under. They don't understand the business. So this is very important. And even when you talk about certainty, inability to know everything fully, we cannot know everything fully. If we knew that the coronavirus is coming, we won't be where we are. And the impact economically. But you look at the nations, the way they respond to it. Look at how America, under good leadership, responded and things will change. The money in the pocket of the people, the vaccination is going on. But if you look at what happened under President Trump, there wasn't preparedness for that. So there is a need to have a focused preparedness and to be able to generate the resources that we see through. When you look at the response from Europe, there's a lot of things going on. When you look at Britain reacted late, but they're better than Europe. But we look at that in Nigeria. What are we doing? So, just as we look at the global governmental level, we also have to look at different businesses. A lot of businesses are moving out of Nigeria. They're changing their base to Ghana. A lot of closing down. This is because the environment is uncertain. And when we look at the environment now with crime, with all sort of things going on, the more we are to be very careful, the more we have to review projects, the more we have to focus on areas that we can control and shrink activities to a profitable line. Most of the doctors are going away. A lot of the residents are running away. Even some of the older guys are running away. Okay, we're running away from problem to another problem, another slavery, but at the same time, people must have hope. People must define where they can get their hope. So within the complexity that is interconnected and interdependent, we must face this squarely, that collaboration, working within the system, making your staff ethically bounded, should know what to do at a particular time, and to know that they have to defend the survival and sustainability of the organization. If not, they'll be on the stretch. If they imbibe that and take ownership, and you're ready to share the wealth you create with them, then you're likely to survive. And in terms of creating more and more, we do than just setting a goal. We let everybody focus on something. Not too many variables. We know the variables we cannot control. We know the variables we control. Can we zoom and create a balance between those variables and still able to watch, set a goal, modify our plans, execute it with variations that suits the ability to deliver, and approach clearly that whatever we're going to do, we need to do it in a different way. So, in summary, wherever we find ourselves at different business levels as a family practitioner, this is what is going on in our own organization. And that was enabled us to survive because we take ownership of the system. We look at a goal, we focus on a plan, but we vary that plan from time to time. If there's anything that is constant in our foundation, is change. And we embrace that change, and we execute with precision, and we depend on executive capability, their intrinsic values, their insights and passion to make sure that our organization survive. And this element at what drive the institution, that everybody within the system know our core value. And through that core value, we're able to deliver service, and we're able to sustain and maintain succession, and hopefully be able to deliver a legacy to a new generation, which will take it to a higher level than us, because they've learned from the lessons of VUCA, and they prepare for it, and they cannot be caught unaware. And above all, wisdom, the fear of God, and having faith in all things that will drive us to achieve the best for the institution and the best to serve the mankind, and to do all things to the glory of God. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Hassan, for this very insightful lecture. Now, we have some questions here. This is from Dr. Tosin Smith. She said, this is very insightful. Thank you, Dr. Hassan, for sharing your experience and wisdom. Now, are there ways to fund projects without leaning on international lending that will loan you in local currency? That's one. And then also, how easy was it for you to release to managers? And how do you find managers outside medicine to manage a medical system in Nigeria?
Okay, you want me to answer that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, in terms of, thank you, Dr. Tosin, for listening. In terms of loan, overseas loans and local loans, local loans will be better if you can get it at a low interest rate. For example, in response to the pandemic, the federal government put forward a health loan and giving the loan at 5% for the first year, going to 9%. 100 billions were recruited. How many people got that loan? I can only remember of key guys they know. The loan is not, we applied, they stream it down, and after, even despite our opt-in now, with all the things, collateral, everything in place, there still says decision of the central bank. But I know institutions that got 1 billion naira. So Nigeria is not based on merits. It's a matter of who you know, and even when you know, whether you are ready to play ball. And as far as our institution is concerned, one of the rules is we don't play ball. We don't bribe anybody. Despite all our foreign involvements, we get all our goods door to door because we cannot bribe the custom guy. So when it's door to door, we pay a premium, but at least we can budget on it. So that's that. But in terms of foreign loans, if you get a good foreign loan with good low interest and is amortized very well, and you can build in your foreign exchange fluctuation into it, you might be able to get away. But the ideal would be for the government to have a hedge fund under each of the banks, a percentage of their total revenue or the company, the bank's worth should be funding health, and make sure the interest rate is low. If that is possible, that's fine. Another factor why Nigerians are not, healthcare are not getting access to local fund, even overseas fund, is the fact that we do a lot of solo practice. We don't trust each other. We don't build group practice. group practice that is based on your skill. You don't have to own the hospital fully. You can be a shareholder, you may not be a shareholder, but people can put the hospital in place and you work there, you get your fees, and you have a robust group practice. When you go to the bank, if you're asking for 5 million or 100 million, they're not looking at one person, they're looking at 4 or 5 in that group practice. Therefore, the risk element is low. If one of them should drop, the rest can work to pay them back. A good example is the new Evercare hospital there. If you know the investors there, Tobacco, IFC, IPG, there are more than 10 investors, with some just local investors there. That's good fun. It's a turnkey project. But all those investors minus IFC or Tobacco, we want to check out in 5 to 7 years. And they will drive that business in order to make profit. And they will sell it to a higher bidder. And at the end of the day, it's not who's the loser. The nation will be the loser because it's not going to last. That's what happened to Lagoon Hospital. Professor Ebute have a wonderful dream, everything, but got to a stage you had to bring in investors. What happened? They sold, and they become minority shareholder, and that's it. So if we have to build that sort of things, we have to have access to soft funds. It's very important. Access to soft funds, and it must be a long-term funding, and it must be such that the equity and the opportunity build the deal is not out for sale. We have that experience in our foundation. IFC, Abraj, Tobacco, all of them came to us. They want to buy into our foundation. We sat down, we did all the due diligence. They saw it as a good business and they want to come in. But the charity part that we build in Ijebu, they want to excise it. They want to know how much they can just give it. They want to quantify the time the doctors are paying there and all these things to reduce it. 2, they're going to change their financial model, whereby a compensation system to the doctor, because they felt that it will not increase their profitability. I listened to all of them. At the end of the day, we thank them, despite the fact that you have to pay some due diligence fee to IFC, but we learned from them. And that's when at second growth of the I Foundation, we kept the old hospital as legacy hospital because that's why we train, that's why we touch lives, that's why we do charity work. It's not for sale. But the new hospital, the new S2 program that we build, the new Lekki hospital and all these things, okay, those ones we can put in down for investors. So you have to understand what you want. We have an obligation to a society, to a nation, to create something that is a legacy that will continue to train, not looking just at the profit. But at the same time, we have to give our shareholders. So the best, okay, we to create one that we can sell off. And the one that is legacy also have shares in the one where we can sell off, so that when you sell off, they can have money back to sustain the system. So it's understanding how these financial institutions work. I've been in the bank for more than 10, 11 years, so I know how they work. And that's why we refused. And you can see what goes on with Hair Plus. How Hair Plus was doing the pharmaceutical company, how they came in, and what. So we have to be very careful in where we get money or loan for. In terms of release to managers, to manage this, well, you know, the truth is most doctors are not very good managers. We are not exposed to that training institution. Some of us that have the opportunity, I mean, like in US, you know, a lot of people do MBA and all. I mean, medicine, you can go through many disciplines before you finally, so it's robust. So if we have such people with that sort of ability and capability, fine. But if you don't, you have to get managers. Those managers, you must pick those managers. They must be sound. Some of them we have. We have a CEO who has a PhD in pharmaceutical. He's been to Johns Hopkins, his work and all these things. Some of them we have experience. You got to source for them. And we have people in business development that have managed organizations and raise funds and have NGO experience. So you got to get those people with what it takes, who understand. They will study the organization. And if the culture is such that you're acceptable, to new ideas, and also guide them with a defined goal and focus, well, why not? You listen to them. And you also make sure they train the middle level managers who are likely the hospital service manager, the hospital matrons, and all those clinical, they train them, and they effectively every week, like our own institution, every month they have their meetings. They look at the figures. They rate each hospitals. And every quarter, everybody comes together. They look at it. The hospital service managers, who are the lower level guys, present and they monitor the progress. So in that way, what we are running is not just these are managers. We define their KPIs. And the medical director also have inputs. So there's an interaction, but they formulate the policy based on advice. They look at the bottom line. They seek where to look for the patients. They know what to charge, what is not, and able to take care of customer services, able to take care of IT. You need those people who are groomed and who have flair and passion for that medical field and interpretation in terms of management. If you get them, they come at a price. They're good. But you must be prepared to create a mixed grill whereby there's mutual respect between the managers and the medical practitioners.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan. Still from Dr. Tosin Smith. She said, agree. How does government want development and growth to happen in that sector without supporting? Then, do you allow surgeons or your trainees to continue to have clinical privileges after they leave? And she did agree that good practice is the way forward. But do you allow surgeons or your trainees to continue to have clinical privileges after they leave? Should I also add another question from another colleague?
Yes.
Okay. So, Oluwaseun Awe, thank you very much for your question. It says, thank you, sir, for sharing your experience and thoughts. How can we get our diaspora practitioners involved in developing and perhaps assist with funding eye care in Nigeria? How can we get our diaspora practitioners involved in developing and perhaps assist with funding eye care in Nigeria?
Right. Now, yes, is that okay? Let's look at the first question. What's it? Government and development of eye cares. You know, the thing is this. We've worked with government, and I always tell my colleagues that government is a kiss of death. I would prefer to give to the government rather than to get anything from them, because you have different interests completely. We are yet to have a government that are interested in who utilize meritocracy to guide things, put a round peg in a round hole. They are interested in mediocrity. The best of the brains are outside the system. So those who are in the system will do anything to defend what they believe, and that's it. As people did get the type of government they deserve, so the government get the type of people they deserve. There are a lot of brilliant guys who have ideas, but they will frustrate it even before you get it to the government. So, except there's a radical change, forget about government. They're not keenly interested. Hello? Am I on? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Sorry. So the government might be able to help, might have interest, I mean the politician, but even our guys that are there, they are the worst. They will not, because they see other people from other institutions at a threat. So it's not just government alone. Government is run by people, and the healthcare people there ought to have a change of mindset. We've seen it through the IAPB, we've seen it through many systems, and they are not just there. They are not ready to allow others to play in the field. However, if we come to the case of whether some of our residents or people who have trained with us, it was one, most of the people that are trained with us, even before they finish their training, we create a new growth platform for them. Once they are 2 or 3, we're training residents, fellows, we're training nurses, optometrists, and ophthalmic practitioners. By the time they finish, we create another growth platform for those doctors. That's how we created Ikorodu. That's how we created Abeokuta. So most, except the doctors we ask to leave our system or have to leave our system. We have a standard. If that doctor is in line with our standard, we create a growth platform. So we never have a doctor voluntarily leaving our system except they have to leave. We know we cannot keep all our residents. That's fine. But if any of them have the training and the capability and wants to be part of us, we will not. But they must have the discipline of organization. And they must have the skill to utilize all those sensitive equipments. If you want to do refractive surgery, you must work with the refractive surgery to use the visual marks and all this. If you have vitreoretina, you must have the exposure, that the confidence is there, that you know how to. So any of the doctors that have the humility to do that, yes, why not? I've had a colleague who came to me want to do vitreoretina surgery, and I said, okay, fine. These are the people we train you. And the colleague told me, how can they train me? They're junior guys. I said, no, they're better than myself. So we too, our mindset is very important. But if anybody is truly ready to be trained, humble, and maintain a standard, why not? We'll be very happy to have them. The third question, how can we get diaspora to come and help in developing ophthalmology in Nigeria? Dr. Tosin is an example of a diaspora. She and her colleagues have pushed much into Nigeria. We collaborate. Collaboration is very important. The glaucoma valve, all the things they're doing now, is through collaboration. They train them. They train specific people in Nigeria, in our hospital in Ijebu, and they expect them also to train others. They put a process in place. So it's for us ourselves to take the ownership of that and train more. Not for us to be trained and think it's a monopoly that we keep it to ourselves and then you don't pass it on. The greatest things you can do in life is pass it on. When we started training, a lot of my colleagues and a lot of people told me, oh, these boys will stab you behind. Some of them will compete with you. And I told them that Christ healed 10 lepers. One came back to say, thank you. And he was made whole, where the others went about with their crooked hand or no heal. So if I get 1 out of 10, I'm happy. But today, we've got more than that. So one is not to fear. One is not to think that if we do something, it's not going to work. Do it. So I'm sure Dr. Tosin can share a lot of experience, what she has done all over. And some of you at the academy will have seen that. So there are a lot of them outside there. When we started training, our strength was in building an international faculty. And that's how our foundation started. And we still enjoy that international faculty. So they are there. But we must also prepare to provide an enabling environment. My friend in China, that we were given the same overseas exposure in terms of foreign money. He got several million. By the time they were to pay back his loan, the Chinese government gave him 20 million for the job he has done to turn around in prevention of blindness. And that's how he established the He Hospital. We may not be lucky to a sensitive government, but if the diasporas, they have the influence, they know that we can deliver service to the poor, definitely a lot of them will chip. But we need a common front. We need a platform for that to happen, that we are looking for serving the community. And in the process of serving the community, you always have enough to earn a living. When we started going to Kano, Mina in those days and doing surgery all over the place, the rich will fly to Lagos to have their surgery done. So it's for us to define a common goal, be honest in our relationship, build a platform where everybody can tap in. That might be the beginning of a larger process of creating a platform for that sort of collaboration and relationship. And we are ready for it. And we've done it with many organizations. And we are still doing it with many organizations. But unfortunately, very few local organizations do approach us. So most of our strength are international rather than within. Sometimes I wonder why, but we will do our best.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, these are the last two questions so that we can finish around two. This is by Ernest Ogbedo, who said, sir, thank you very much. Getting financial and managerial literacy towards quality eye health system, where can one start? So where can one start in getting financial and managerial literacy towards quality eye health system? And then Adeni Adeshina says, sir, why is it difficult for the NMA in Nigeria develop a world-class hospital in Nigeria in the 6 geopolitical zones with the funds they have? Must funds be provided by government alone only? Sorry. Why is it difficult for the NMA in Nigeria to develop a world-class hospital in Nigeria in the 6 geo zones with the funds they have? Must funds be provided by government only? So those are the last two questions, sir.
Okay. And the first one, which comes to where to get finance and management training, first of all, you must have the passion to get yourself trained. Pick little books, little financial literature, financial management, basic books they have available to even understand the terms and what is available. 2, in terms of management, pick a small management book. There are many of them now. After reading and understanding, there are many courses online. Dr. Arimant just finished an MBA. She's doing another course on management. There's so many courses online that you can do, and you don't have to go there. People get MBA and you only go for the final 2 weeks or 3 weeks. That would be very good. Another thing is, Nigeria has the highest number of ophthalmologists who attended the Vision 2020 course at the International Center for High Health in Moorfields. I attended a 6-week course there, but Nigerians have the highest number, and they do the alumni, but none of them, I've not seen them transferring that knowledge. Very few. Dr. Chiari tried to put everybody together. When we do an OSN, we're all there, but we cannot. There was a time I approached, Arabin, we do projects together with John Hopkins and all these things for the past 10 years. And there was a time, a lot of Nigerians go to Arabin to do courses. There was a time I told Tusi, why don't we do these joint courses and do it in Nigeria? More people will be able to attend, and then we can share the process. It will still come to the same thing. But no, Nigerians prefer to go, one, because of ESTA code, if they're being sent by government, and two, they think it'd be better on their CV, they've been there rather than to be trained locally. But after they've been there, they come back, they don't have the equipment, they don't have what it takes to do. Whereas with the private sector in other countries, those people who trained in Kenya and on, they will do a sandwich program whereby the mentor and the mentee will join together. You go there to see what the guy is doing. He comes around for another month. That way you transfer the skill. We are not ready to do that. We've given people even opportunity to come and do that in our foundation. And they said they can't leave their place for more than 1 month or 2 months. Very few. And I'm sure those who have done short-term and long-term fellowship in vitro retina can bear that out. Even Ghana, we train their best vitro retinas. In East Africa, we train a lot of their surgeons in FACO. But so we sometimes don't, I don't know, we don't give honor to where it's due. A bishop, what do you call it? A prophet has no honor in his country. Whereas we have potentials that if we put together, can you look at the number of people trained at ICH in management, eye care management, finance, and all these things? If they can share that knowledge, then people like you will be prepared to come and do a week or a 2 course. However, the Eye Foundation, the Kune Azan Eye Foundation Academy is one of the things we are planning to do. And once we put all things in place, definitely we will share it, and those who want to attend can attend. Because it's very important for you to understand what it takes to build an institution. So about NMA, it's also a Nigerian factor. The NMA has turned into a militant organization defending the rights of doctors, union, and all these things that they've lost the real value of creating it. It's not now, it's happened since 1976. I remember the time of Oye, we were young, there were battle with the military government and all. It shouldn't be. We should be partners. We should be seen to respect ourselves. But what is happening? There are respectable guys that decided not to join in that sort of organization. It's turned to activists. Whereas if you have credit people with the amount of money, then you can do projects. Look at the British Medical Association. They have a building. Do you know the amount of money they have? They organize short courses. They work with healthcare institutions. They give scholarship. They promote things. You know, they don't have to even own a hospital. They partner with private sector and insurance to create hospitals. And they get good return from them. And because they are part of those institutions that created those private hospitals and some of the trust, they are able to influence decisions. And they are able to do things in an objective way that is productive and helps the profession and the economy. So we have to reinvent the NMA. We have to have credible people there. We have to have vision. And not just that, when there's trouble, oh, we have to go there to strike, oh, we have to go do this. When my classmate, Ezani, was the Nigerian Medical Council in charge of me, I told him, the Nigerian Medical Council have a property in VI. The Nursing Council had one. The Nursing Council developed a property to almost, I think, 15 or 17 levels. And they were able to revive it. Nigeria could not get investors to develop their own. So I think we just get what we deserve. If we want to change, people like you to come forward and get people who can represent the institution and have the vision to put NMA where they should be. Dr. Tosin can say that at the American Academy of Ophthalmology, the last meeting we had was it in Las Vegas? No, was it Las Vegas or in San Francisco? One of the key things being discovered by the older ones is the fear of investor taking over eye care and edging out the professionals, because the older ones, they have a lot of investment in eye care, and as they want to check out, they sell to investors, and they wonder what will happen to the younger ophthalmologists. Will they become enslaved and the operations and things they do dictated by those investors, or will they be in charge? That's a country where the leaders think of tomorrow and what is best for them and protect their interests. Here we don't do that. We don't plan for the future. But I hope it can start somewhere. That's why we started the Young Ophthalmology Forum when I was the president. And I hope they share that vision. So it's possible if your generation can come together or incite the younger generations to come together and give them leadership to be bold, to face and challenge the status quo. Our problem is we don't want to challenge the status quo. We want to be in the good, but we know it's not right. If you don't challenge the status quo, your sin is greater than those guys who are not forward-looking in bringing our organization to a higher height. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, sir. And thank you, everyone, for listening in. Thank you for your questions. We will ensure that the recorded today's lecture is also sent out. I'll see how we can get you to send in your emails so we can forward the link to the previous 2 lectures and subsequent lectures. So thank you very much. The next lecture is on the 5th of June, and we hope you will all listen in. Thank you very much once again. Thank you, sir, and goodbye. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you.